This is number seven podcast.
Number 7 podcast.
Welcome back to the Number 7 podcast channel. Today we're diving into a classic tale of adventure, betrayal, and of course revenge. We'll be summarizing the story of the Count of Monte Cristo. This book starts off with Edmond Dantès. He's a young sailor who's about to become captain. He's engaged to a beautiful woman named Mercedes, and life is looking pretty good for him. But on the day of his wedding, Dantès is falsely accused of treason, and he's imprisoned in the infamous Chateau d'If. It's this island prison just off the coast of Marseille. Now, Dantès is innocent, but his enemies, Danglars, Fernand, and Caderousse, well, they're jealous. They want to destroy him. So they plant evidence, manipulate witnesses, and they make sure that Dantès is condemned to a life of isolation and despair. Years pass, turning into decades as Dantès is stuck in prison. His hopes and dreams are fading with each passing day. But fate has other plans for him. He meets another prisoner, an old priest named Abbé Faria. Now Faria becomes his mentor and friend. Faria teaches Dantès about history, science, languages, even swordsmanship, basically everything you could imagine. Most importantly, he reveals the location of a hidden treasure, and this treasure is on the island of Monte Cristo. When Faria dies, Dantès escapes from prison in a very daring plan. He takes Faria's place in a burial sack and is thrown into the sea. Somehow he manages to survive. He swims to a nearby island, and he joins forces with a band of smugglers. And these smugglers help him reach Monte Cristo. And that's where he claims his treasure. Dantès is no longer that naive young sailor he once was. He's been transformed by years of imprisonment, and by the knowledge that he was betrayed by the people he trusted most. So he takes on the identity of the Count of Monte Cristo. He's now this wealthy and mysterious figure, and he sets out to use his newfound fortune to get revenge on those who wronged him. Now let's get into a simple chapter-by-chapter summary. Chapter 1 introduces us to Edmond Dantès. He's that young and promising sailor that returns to Marseille after a successful voyage. He's eager to see his father and his beloved Mercedes, and his future seems very bright. But things take a dark turn when Dantès is arrested on the day of his wedding. He's accused of being a Bonapartist conspirator, and this is where we meet his enemies. Danglars. Danglars is that jealous colleague who wants Dantès' position. Then there's Fernand, who desires Mercedes for himself. And lastly, there's Caderousse, a weak-willed neighbor who's easily swayed by greed. Chapter 2 takes us inside the Chateau d'If. That's where Dantès is imprisoned in solitary confinement. The years pass in agonizing solitude, and Dantès begins to lose hope. We see how this imprisonment takes a toll on him physically and emotionally. He grapples with despair, anger, and the desire for revenge. In Chapter 3, a glimmer of hope appears. Dantès discovers a fellow prisoner digging a tunnel from an adjacent cell. This prisoner is Abbé Faria. He's that learned and eccentric priest who's been wrongfully imprisoned for years. The two become friends, and Faria becomes Dantès' mentor, sharing his vast knowledge and teaching him valuable skills. Chapter 4 is a turning point in Dantès' journey. Abbé Faria reveals the secret of a hidden treasure. This treasure's on the island of Monte Cristo. He gives Dantès a map and instructions on how to find it. Basically, he entrusts Dantès with his legacy. This moment ignites a spark of hope in Dantès, fueling his desire for freedom and revenge. Tragedy strikes in Chapter 5. Abbé Faria suffers a fatal seizure. Before dying, he shares one last piece of wisdom with Dantès. He urges him to use the treasure wisely and to seek justice, but he also reminds him to remember the importance of mercy. This advice weighs heavily on Dantès as he navigates what's to come. Chapter 6 is filled with suspense and action. When Faria dies, Dantès hatches a daring plan to escape. He switches places with the body, gets sewn into the burial sack, and is thrown into the sea. He manages to cut himself free and swims to a nearby island. He narrowly escapes death. Chapter 7 finds Dantès washed ashore on the island of Monte Cristo. He explores the island using Faria's map, and he discovers the hidden treasure. It's a vast fortune consisting of gold, jewels, and other valuables. With this newfound wealth, Dantès now has the means to transform himself and to enact his plans for revenge. In Chapter 8, Dantès returns to Marseille, but he's not the same man he once was. He assumes the identity of the Count of Monte Cristo. He becomes this wealthy and enigmatic figure shrouded in mystery. He begins to gather information about his enemies, their lives, their families, their secrets. He carefully lays the groundwork for his plans. Chapter 9 introduces us to the transformed Parisian society. It's a world of wealth, luxury, and intrigue. Monte Cristo uses his fortune to gain access to this elite circle. He dazzles them with his sophistication, his charm, and his mysterious past. He becomes this sought-after guest at lavish parties and social gatherings. All the while, he's observing his enemies from a position of power. Chapter 10 marks the beginning of Monte Cristo's carefully orchestrated plan for revenge. He starts by manipulating events to bring about the financial ruin of Danglars. He's that greedy banker who played a key role in his downfall. Through a series of shrewd investments and calculated risks, Monte Cristo engineers Danglars' demise. He slowly strips him of his wealth and status. Chapter 11 focuses on Fernand. Fernand has married Mercedes and achieved a position of power and influence, but Monte Cristo begins to expose Fernand's past treachery. He reveals his role in betraying a Turkish pasha during the war. This revelation shatters Fernand's reputation, leading to his public disgrace and the downfall of his family. Chapter 12 brings us back to Caderousse, that weak-willed neighbor who was swayed by greed. Monte Cristo tests Caderousse's character. He offers him a chance to confess his role in Dantes' betrayal and to seek redemption. But Caderousse is consumed by envy. He can't resist temptation. He chooses a path of deceit and crime, ultimately leading to his own demise. Chapter 13 delves into the impact of Monte Cristo's revenge. As he witnesses the downfall of his enemies, he begins to question justice. And he questions the price of vengeance. We start to see glimpses of doubt and remorse, suggesting that his quest for retribution is taking a toll on his own soul. And Chapter 14 introduces us to Haydée. She's a young woman who becomes a key figure in Monte Cristo's life. He rescues her from slavery and becomes her guardian. He offers her protection and a new life. Haydée's presence brings a sense of hope and innocence into Monte Cristo's world. She reminds him of the beauty that still exists in the midst of all this darkness. And that wraps up the first 14 chapters of The Count of Monte Cristo. We'll be back to continue our deep dive into this classic tale of betrayal, revenge, and maybe even redemption.
If you're enjoying our journey so far, please like this video and share it with your fellow book lovers. And if you have any suggestions for other books you'd like us to explore, let us know in the comments below. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in part 2. Welcome back to the number 7 podcast channel. Let's jump right back into The Count of Monte Cristo. Picking up with Chapter 15, we dive deeper into Monte Cristo's relationship with Haydée. It's clear he feels responsible for her well-being. He wants to protect her from the world. But there are hints of a deeper connection, something more than just guardian and ward. Haydée's presence challenges Monte Cristo, reminding him that he's still capable of love and compassion. Chapter 16 shifts the focus to Albert de Morcerf. He's the son of Fernand and Mercedes. Albert's a young man of honor and integrity, and he's unaware of his father's dark past. Monte Cristo sees a reflection of his younger self in Albert. Before betrayal and imprisonment changed him. This connection creates conflict for Monte Cristo. He realizes his revenge could hurt innocent people like Albert. In Chapter 17, Monte Cristo sets up a duel between Albert and one of his enemies.
But he steps in at the last moment and saves Albert's life. This act of mercy shows that Monte Cristo isn't all about vengeance. He's still capable of compassion. Chapter 18 takes us back to Danglars. His financial ruin is almost complete. Monte Cristo's taken everything from him. But even now, Danglars shows some humanity. He chooses to protect his daughter's happiness over his own financial gain. It's a small act of redemption. But it suggests that even flawed characters can change. Chapter 19 focuses on Fernand's downfall. Monte Cristo reveals Fernand's past treachery to everyone, exposing his betrayal of Ali Pasha. This destroys Fernand's reputation, and he's left disgraced. Fernand, filled with guilt and shame, confronts Mercedes. He wants her forgiveness, but their relationship is broken. Chapter 20 brings us to Villefort, that ambitious prosecutor who played a part in Dantes' imprisonment. Monte Cristo has been gathering evidence of Villefort's secrets, and now he starts to reveal those secrets, setting off a chain of events that will destroy Villefort's family and career. Chapter 21 digs deeper into Villefort's torment as his secrets come out. He's overwhelmed with guilt and fear. His pursuit of power and his willingness to hurt others have come back to haunt him. His world falls apart. Chapter 22 is a turning point for Monte Cristo. He's finally ruined his enemies. But he doesn't feel satisfied. He's left with a feeling of emptiness. He realizes revenge hasn't brought him peace or happiness. It's actually made his pain worse. In Chapter 23, Monte Cristo struggles with the consequences of his actions. He sees how his revenge has hurt innocent people. Haydée sees his struggle and offers him comfort, reminding him that there's still good in the world. She helps him look beyond his own pain and to see the need for compassion and forgiveness. Chapter 24 highlights the power of forgiveness. Monte Cristo starts to question his need for revenge. He realizes it's just creating more pain and suffering. He starts to see his enemies differently, recognizing their humanity and their potential for change. This is a major shift for him, leading him towards redemption. In Chapter 25, Monte Cristo acts on his new understanding of forgiveness. He reaches out to those he's wronged, offering them chances to redeem themselves. He tries to fix the damage he's caused, using his wealth and influence to help people. This shows Monte Cristo's transformation from vengeful to compassionate. Welcome back to the number 7 podcast channel. We're wrapping up our deep dive into The Count of Monte Cristo today, so let's get right back to it. Chapter 26 focuses on Monte Cristo and his attempts to reconcile with those he's wronged.
He reveals his true identity to Maximilian Morel. Now, Morel is the son of the kind ship owner who was like a father to Dantes. This is a big moment. Monte Cristo is seeking forgiveness and understanding. Chapter 27 brings us to the culmination of Villefort's downfall. Monte Cristo's plans come to a head. Villefort's family meets some very tragic ends, driven to madness by their secrets and the consequences of their actions. Villefort sees the destruction he's caused, and he's completely alone. It's a powerful reminder of what guilt can do and the impact of the choices we make. In Chapter 28, Monte Cristo has a final confrontation with Danglars. Danglars has lost everything. He's forced to face what his greed and betrayal have led to. Monte Cristo gives him a chance at redemption. But Danglars is so hardened that he doesn't really understand how bad his actions were. Chapter 29 brings us to a turning point in Monte Cristo's relationship with Haydée. Haydée learns the truth about her father's betrayal and death. She's torn between her love for Monte Cristo and wanting revenge. But Monte Cristo encourages her to choose forgiveness. He doesn't want her to be consumed by hatred. Chapter 30 is all about Monte Cristo's decision to leave behind the world that caused him so much pain. He decides to leave with Haydée. They're going to look for a new life full of peace and happiness, far away from everything. This decision shows how much he's overcome. He's letting go of the past and looking towards a brighter future. Chapter 31 brings us to the resolution of the story. Before Monte Cristo leaves, he writes a letter to Maximilian Morel. He tells him who he really is, Edmond Dantes. And he expresses his gratitude for Morel's loyalty. He even gives Maximilian and his love, Valentine, a parting gift, a symbol of hope and new beginnings. This act of generosity shows how much Monte Cristo has changed, from someone consumed by revenge to someone who can forgive. The final chapter, Chapter 32, shows Monte Cristo sailing off into the sunset with Haydée. They're leaving his past behind. It feels like Monte Cristo has finally found some peace after all he's been through. And that brings us to the end of our journey through the Count of Monte Cristo. We've covered a lot of ground, from betrayal and revenge to hope and forgiveness. If you enjoyed listening to us break down this classic tale, please like this video and share it with others. And if there's another book you'd like us to summarize, let us know in the comments. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in our next deep dive.